Today I'm going to teach you how to play The Cursed Castle, and it is designed by Vasily Alexiev, and it is one of the Solo Game of the Month games that is usually available on Kickstarter. And as the name implies, Solo Game of the Month means there is a monthly Kickstarter for a different themed solo game. Well, The Cursed Castle happened to be up my alley with some dark fantasy and a little flavor of Darkest Dungeon, so I went for it. Now I'm going to teach you how to play. It says that it's a solo game. Average is about 40 minutes and age range is 14 plus. Take charge of the 3 hunters walking in the forgotten hallways of the Cursed Castle in an attempt to purge the ancient evil that dwells within. Each round you'll roll, manipulate, and allocate dice to overcome traps, defeat armies of minions, and vanquish deadly overlords. As your party progresses, you'll uncover powerful artifacts, learn new skills, and make game-changing combos to delve deeper into the castle and break its evil curse. But beware. Building up your heroes is easier than preserving them in this brutal adventure. This is the only solo game of the month I own, so I'm not sure how the others are available, but I like how this one looks like a VHS case. I imagine that they are probably all very similar, so they look nice on the shelf, but I could be wrong. Anyway, let's take a look inside. Now we'll go through setting up the game. The first thing you do is select the dungeon you want to face. Dungeon cards are numbered 1 through 4 in the bottom right corners of the card. You'll then remove the dungeon's mini-boss. That's the card with the blue border. With the mini-boss still currently separated, you will then shuffle the other cards to form the dungeon deck. You will then take the merchant card, which is the only dungeon card without a number in the corner, and you will place your dungeon's mini-boss on top of the merchant card. You will then put these 2 cards somewhere in the middle of the deck. Then, out of the 7 bosses available in the game, you will either select one or randomly choose and put it on the bottom of your dungeon deck. The rest of the bosses go back to the box. Then you'll take the Duplicate, Riposte, Arcane Eye, Maul, Polymorph, and Heal Wounds ability cards and place them white border side up. Then you will select or randomly choose 3 hero cards and place them in front of you with their white border side up. I'm going to be using the suggested example of the Magus, Champion, and Ranger, and place the remaining heroes in easy reach. Then you'll find each hero's starting equipment card and place them above the hero cards. Each picture is on the back of their specific equipment card. Note that the artist gets 2 equipment cards. You will then take all of the other equipment cards, shuffle them, and place them face down near your ability cards. Now, I do not have these because I don't believe they came in my Kickstarter. I think there was a mistake. But anyway, if you're using boss modifier decks, labeled Hard, Nightmare, and Torment, shuffle these cards for your chosen difficulty together and place them near the ability cards. Then you'll take your 3 hero dice, the white, and 3 enemy dice, the black, and place them in front of you, leaving space above them for a row of 4 dungeon cards. This is probably a little bit better. Then you'll place the remaining Bleed, Stun, Poison, Corruption, Dice, and all cubes in a nearby space. You will then mix the item tokens face down and place them within easy reach. Note that the boss modifier cards are not required to play the game. The designer of the game says it's already quite difficult and they are not needed. But there was a way to fill out a Google form to get them sent to you if you missed them, or there's a print and play option which I was able to find through Board Game Geek, but I didn't do because my printer's terrible. Anyway, the overview of how to play the Cursed Castle: it is played over a series of rounds and ends when you reach the final boss at the bottom of the dungeon deck. Each round consists of the following phases. First, drawing and placing dungeon cards. Then, rolling enemy dice and place them on enemy cards. Then rolling the hero dice, then using dice and cubes to activate abilities and equipment cards. After that, you assess your results and you clean up. Phase 1. Draw and place dungeon cards. The dungeon has 4 spaces for cards. The first 3 spaces are for enemies, and the 4th space is for traps, chests, special enemies, etc., the red border cards, such as this captive. Now, at the start of a round, you will draw cards until the first 3 spaces have an enemy. Well, here we go. When a red border card is drawn, it will be placed on the 4th space. If multiple red border cards are drawn, place them on top of each other. Only one red border card is active at a time. Special case for the barricade is when a barricade is drawn, immediately draw another card and place it on top of the barricade so that only the bottom section is showing. This adds one more cube you must defeat to get to that enemy. So this plunderer is behind this barricade. So here's an example of what your dungeon could look like. Phase 2. Roll enemy dice and place them on enemy cards. Roll the 3 black dice. These dice have 6 sides but only have 3 numbers, 1, 2, and 3. You would place number 1s on the first enemy, number 2s on the middle spot, and number 3s on the third dungeon spot. A card may have more than 1 die on it, and a card with a die on it is considered what is called primed, which we will go over later. Then you roll the 3 hero dice and place them in front of you. You will use these rolled to activate your cards. Now we'll go over how to use dice and cubes to activate your cards. Your ability cards. Ability cards have 2 actions on them that may be activated. The top action, above this dividing line here, is unique to each ability card and is always activated when a die of any value is placed on the card. These are explained further later on. The bottom action grants you an attack cube when a die with the specified number is placed on the card. For example, when a die showing a number 2 would be placed on this card, you would receive a red cube. In addition to the top action, a die that activates the bottom action always activates both actions, which can be done in any order. So pay attention to your pips. Activating shrines or defeating enemies with this star icon allows you to level up an ability card by flipping it to its upgraded yellow bordered side. This may give you an additional top action or allow multiple die values to activate the bottom action. An ability card may only be activated once per round. Now, equipment cards can be activated to gain various benefits. They are activated in 3 different ways. There is the outline of a cube or a colored cube. Place a cube. Color may be specified. So, for example, here. Place a hero die. Number may be specified. Or gain corruption in order to activate. You may have any number of equipment cards. Then there's also the hero cards. They have several different features. First, up here is going to be the skill bonus. This value is added to hero dice to pass skill checks. Then you have your hero name here. Down here, you have their attack box, where attack cubes are placed to deal damage to enemies. And then you have the attack bonus. This is an additional benefit granted when committing an attack with a given hero. Each of your 3 hero cards may be used once per round for either a skill check or an attack. Attacking. Attack cubes, blue, yellow, and red, that have been gained on a given round can be placed on a hero's attack boxes to be transferred over to enemies as damage during the assess results phase. Each enemy requires a specific cube color to take damage, and you must place those colors of cubes in your attack boxes in order to damage them. With the attack bonuses, many heroes gain an immediate bonus when you place a cube of any one of their attack boxes. An attack box may only be activated once per round. These bonuses are explained later. Then there's also passing skill checks. Some dungeon cards require skill checks in order to deal damage or gain other benefits. To pass a skill check, at least 1 hero die, or dice, must be placed on a hero next to their skill bonus, which is up here. The combined value of the dice placed here plus the hero's skill bonus must meet or exceed the skill check value you want to satisfy. Skill checks are then resolved during the assess results phase. Then, after all your dice and cubes and everything are all placed, you will assess the results. From left to right, assess attacks, skill checks, and damage, starting with the hero cards and moving on to the enemy cards afterwards. So for hero results, the first thing you'll do is move attack cubes from the hero cards to the enemy cards following the attacking rules. Any cubes that can't be moved from heroes to enemies are lost. If you're able to satisfy any skill checks, place a black cube on the past skill check space to mark it as complete. Here's an example of a card that would need a skill check. This is a skill check of 8. So now, we'll say I placed my dice like this instead, with the skill check for the champion now being 6, and a red cube placed, I would be able to pass the ruffian's skill check of 5 to deal the damage necessary to him. Now, as soon as all the attack and skill cube requirements on an enemy card are satisfied, it is considered defeated and will not attack. If a card is not defeated, the cubes will remain on it for future rounds. After placing attack, skill cubes, and all enemies that haven't been defeated attack the heroes. So this ruffian is dead. Now, these are the dungeon results. At the top of each enemy card, there are 2 attack zones. The left is the primary attack, occurs once for each enemy die on the card, may be activated multiple times. Then on the right is the secondary attack, and it only occurs if the enemy is not activated by an enemy die, and it only activates once. Each enemy card is activated depending on what is shown in these 2 zones, and on whether or not there are enemy dice on the card. Using this dead ruffian as an example, if he has 3 enemy dice on it, he would deal 3 damage. But if he has no enemy dice on it, he would deal 2 damage, because this is for every die on his card. All enemy effects are applied in the same basic way, regardless of their type. I will go over the enemy effects later on in the video. But if you have a rulebook handy, those start on page 15 of the rulebook. Now, going over red border cards. They're special cards that can be traps, chests, enemies, etc. They can either be good or bad, and they resolve in one of 2 ways, depending on which icons they bear. For example, this chain equals persistent. Effects listed next to this icon continue to trigger during the assess results phase of each round until the skill check needed to clear the card is successfully passed. Do not trigger the card's effects on the round the skill check is passed. Then there are fleeting. Any effects listed next to this icon on a red border card will trigger only if this card's skill check is not passed during the current assess results phase, and trigger during that phase. Bonus effects on the skill check space at the bottom of the red card will trigger only if the skill check is passed during the current round, and trigger during cleanup. Either way, hourglass cards are only in play for 1 round and then are discarded during the cleanup phase. All red border card effects are also described starting again on page 15 of the rulebook. Then, after that, it's cleanup. You remove all cubes from defeated enemies and place those cards in a discard pile. See you later, ruffian. All unused cubes go back to the supply. Then you would remove any empty spaces by moving enemy cards to the left if spaces 1 and or 2 are open. If this was a fleeting card, it would go to the discard pile. Otherwise, it stays in space 4. If any of the spaces in the dungeon are now empty, draw cards until those are full and begin a new round again. Remember, red border cards replace the ones that are there. The ruffian! He's back! Let's talk about captive, chests, shrines, and merchants. During your dungeon run, you will encounter these cards with the timer signified by the hourglass icon. Now, these cards will only be available for 1 round while they are the top card in the 4th space and disappear during the cleanup phase. The player may choose whether to engage or ignore these cards, but passing the required skill check grants you a benefit. The captive card allows the player to draw an extra hero at random during cleanup, who will take the place of a defeated hero. If you rescue a captive when all 3 of your heroes are still in play, place the new hero off to the side. When a hero is defeated, replace it with the new one. Defeated heroes cannot be recovered this way. Chest cards require a skill check to open the chest. During cleanup, if a chest has been opened, the player draws an item from the pile of face-down item tokens, which you shuffled and put there. Place the token face up in front of you, and it can be used at any time. Mimic enemies also give the option of defeating them with a skill check, which grants an item token. Items are explained in detail on page 23 of the rulebook or later on in this video. Shrine cards' value are in the fact that they help you level up. During cleanup, if the skill check for a shrine has been passed, select one of your ability cards and flip it so that its yellow, upgraded side is visible. Stumbled over a sentence, came out on top. The merchant shows up around halfway through a dungeon. During cleanup, if the skill check for the merchant has been passed, draw 2 equipment cards, keep 1, and discard the other. And now let's talk about boss fights. The boss is the final card in the dungeon deck. Once it's drawn, you must defeat it to overcome the dungeon and win the game. You will keep playing rounds until either you or the final boss is defeated. If other enemies are in the dungeon row, they are also part of the final battle, but they do not need to be defeated in order to win. The boss's placement in the dungeon row does not matter. All black dice will be used to activate the abilities across the top of the boss's card. 1s activate the first ability, 2s the second, 3s the third. However, other enemies in the dungeon row are activated like normal, so if an enemy is in the first place and the boss is in the second place, you roll 3 1s, you would activate the enemy 3 times and the boss's first ability 3 times. To defeat the boss, you must fulfill all cubes and skill checks and the requirements on its card. So again, if you were to roll the 3 dice, the 2, 2, 2, ooh, yikes, those would go here, and this would activate 3 times. Oh, not so bad, nothing. And referencing those boss modifier cards for a more challenging game, boss modifiers can be used to add further requirements. You can look those up because I don't have them in this game, so I can't really go over them. And that is pretty much everything you need to know how to play the game, but let's go over some advanced modes. Such as Wandering Monsters. During setup, add a deck of extra enemies to the dungeon. These decks of wandering monsters labeled A, B, and C and provide extra challenge and variety to the dungeon. For a more challenging game that still makes around the same amount of time, replace some of the easier enemies in the dungeon with a group of wandering monsters. Do you hate yourself and your adventurers? How about 2 bosses? During setup, split the dungeon deck into thirds instead of halves, and at the bottom of the first third, place the dungeon's mini-boss and the merchant. At the bottom of the second third, place a boss card, and at the bottom of the final third, place another boss card. Boss fights play out as normal, but now there's just 2 of them. Then there is the Gauntlet mode. See if you can defeat more than 1 dungeon with at least 1 hero standing. And then, for an easier game, you can try a full party mode. And what that does is remove the captive card from the dungeon and begin the game with 1 or more heroes in reserve. When a hero dies, immediately replace it. Now I will be foregoing going over each of the dungeon effects in this video because I'm not going to be putting timestamps for each thing. I will just say reference the rulebook, which I will put each page here so you can, if you want to do this, if you don't have the rulebook available, you can pause this and just look at what you're looking for right here. But there is damage, poison, corruption, bleed, stun, madness, dice lock, +1 enemy die, steal, incite, raise dead, rejuvenate, persistent, fleeting, leveling up, gain hero, search, skill bonus, single attack, and then it breaks down what some of your attack bonuses and abilities do, like reroll, add the red die, taunt, power up, healing, remove status effect, block, conjure, precision shot, versatile, enraged. And then your ability cards have things like their bottom actions and top actions, duplicate, arcane eye, heal wounds, riposte, maul, polymorph, healing, and exchange. And again, that's just going to extend the video like 3 or 4 seconds for each thing. I'm not going to put a timestamp. You can just pause or reference this or go online or actually have the rulebook. But then at the end of the rulebook is the equipment reference and what each piece of equipment does, and the item reference and what each item does. Now you know everything you need to know to play the Cursed Castle.